We don't need to travel to deep space to find other worlds. They're right here hiding in plain sight. Winter is a time of struggle. In the forest, many plants and animals are sleeping, but nestled in falling leaves is a small plant living life against the grain. Almost invisible, the crane fly orchid prospers in winter. Its single leaf is dark green above and striking purple below. The winter leaf emerged from the ground in late October. With no competition from overhead trees, it gathers the light of winter sun. When spring arrives and a canopy blocks the sun, the little crane fly leaf begins to die. By May, it will be gone. But in midsummer, a single stalk emerges from the soil. Its flowers have a spindly crane fly appearance and a fragrance that attracts night-flying moths. When a moth gets nectar from a flower, pollen attaches to the moth's eye and is transferred to the next flower visited. Pollinated flowers produce seeds that are dust-sized specks. They drift in the air. Lacking stored food, the tiny seeds need help as soon as they land on soil or they die. A soil fungus comes to the rescue, providing food and water, enabling the seeds to germinate and prosper. Most plants and trees have underground fungal partners. Without them, it's thought that trees like these would be no taller than daffodils. So these hardy orchids are a sign of cooperation, a community at work. Like the little orchid, we live our lives in community with others. We cooperate as well as compete with other people. We depend on and learn from each other, and we develop relationships with the places where we grow up, live, and play. Places where we go to relax, to be at peace. Knowledge of place becomes closely linked with knowledge of self. To know who you are, you have to have a place to come from. And so we preserve places for people to discover and learn from nature. Carl Anderson has spent a lifetime exploring plants and plant communities. He has come to Elephant Swamp Trail, a local preserve, to share his knowledge with Jeff Mollenhauer, an ornithologist. Jeff and Carl have been leading the Big Year Eco Challenge, a survey of Elephant Swamp Trail and 6 other land preserves. A team of volunteers has taken responsibility for each park. From January 1 to December 31, the volunteers will visit their parks many times to find, photograph, and identify as many living things as they can. Some species will be found throughout the year, but others appear only seasonally or in migration. Sometimes the volunteers discover plants or animals not previously known to occur at their site. Everything that lives there, no matter how big or small, is fair game as the volunteers search their sites. Discovery dates and locations are recorded with a cell phone app called iNaturalist, a technology that empowers ordinary people, young and old, to identify plants and animals. You don't need to be an expert. You just need a cell phone or a camera, curiosity, and a keen pair of eyes. Or a good nose. Jeff's well-trained dog, Rio, has helped him find several species on his study site that he might otherwise have missed. The Big Year Eco Challenge is a lighthearted competition. Teams and individuals within teams compete to see who can find the most species on their site and the most interesting stories. But the Big Year is equally a personal challenge to slow down, to learn to see and hear the life that shares our world and that we walk past unknowingly every day. Winter is a good time to look for plant growths called galls. Galls form when a species of wasp lays its eggs on a plant. The developing larvae hijack the twig's growth, forming the gall, which protects them as they use the plant for food. It takes 33 months for the larvae inside this gall to become adult wasps. These adults will produce the next generation of gall-forming wasps, a generation that will live only 3 months, followed by another generation that lives 33 months. But like wooden Russian dolls nesting inside one another, no matter how long a generation lives, each is made possible by the generations that came before. Jeff is uploading a photo of the oak gall to iNaturalist. iNaturalist compares his photo to the archive of gall photos submitted by other people and gives Jeff its 10 best suggestions for the gall's identity. After Jeff uploads his decision, the gall's identity can be confirmed by other iNaturalist users. His photo becomes a permanent record of what lived in this place on this day. iNaturalist also tells Jeff where else that species of gall has been seen, a graph of its frequency through the year, and other life history details. With iNaturalist, your phone becomes a portable field guide. iNaturalist creates a community of citizen scientists who can tap into the knowledge of experts. It democratizes knowledge of the natural world, making it accessible to people who want to know more, who want to protect the gift of these natural places. What we experience and come to know is shaped by what we pay attention to. It takes time to truly know a place. You have to observe and experience it through the seasons. Then myriad pieces of an intricate functioning system begin to appear. All winter long, the spiky balls of the sweet gum tree swing back and forth like condiment shakers, releasing a light rain of seeds. Sweet gum balls are natural bird feeders that provide a steady supply of food to winter birds. As spring arrives, new plants emerge. Colonies of May-apples cover the ground in a parade of green umbrellas. May-apple rust, a fungal parasite, quickly takes advantage, forming orange patches on the leaves. Bright green colonies of Canada Mayflower carpet the forest floor. Colonies of trout lilies appear, their mottled leaves interspersed with nodding yellow flowers. Trout lily colonies can be 100 years or more in age, older than many nearby trees. But May apples, Canada Mayflowers, and trout lilies are spring ephemerals. When the overhead canopy appears, they die and disappear. As Shakespeare wrote, "Our revels now are ended. Our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits, and are melted into air, into thin air." Wherever there are flowers, insects are never far away. As the first spring flowers on trees appear, a host of new actors come on stage. Solitary bees that live in the ground, each species of bee specializing in pollinating one kind of tree or shrub: red maple, willow, blueberry. Spring flows seamlessly into summer. Goldenrod is perhaps the most common flower of North American summer and autumn. Goldenrod is a keystone species that many insects depend on and is an education in ecology. Goldenrod's nodding plumes are filled with tiny flowers. Their heavy, sticky pollen is transferred to other flowers on the bodies of insects. Goldenrod's abundant nectar attracts many bees, wasps, flies, butterflies, and beetles. Flower flies are frequent visitors to goldenrod. They hover like helicopters, and they are among our most important pollinators of native plants. Cleverly disguised to look and sound like bees, they are actually flies. They come in such a variety of striking colors and patterns that Jeff refers to flower flies as the warblers of the insect world. Some species of insects deposit their eggs inside the thin structures we call leaves. Viewed microscopically, leaves are like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Two slices of bread, The outer epidermal layers of the leaf, which protect the peanut butter and jelly, cell layers inside. Larvae developing inside the leaf become leaf miners, eating the peanut butter and jelly layer while leaving the outer layers for protection. Excavated leaf tissue appears as translucent tunnels or mines that remain visible on a leaf. The pattern and size of these mines and the presence of larval droppings are useful aids in determining a leaf miner's identity. Even more important in determining the leaf miner's identity is knowing the host plant's identity. Leaf miners are common to most plant families. Over and over, Big Year volunteers find that knowing the name of something is only the beginning. For example, this is black oak, but to know its life story, how and why it came here, its relations with other members of the community, that story has the power to capture our imaginations. Like crane fly orchids, oaks need partners to disperse their seeds to new places. An oak's best partner is a jay. Simply put, wherever you find oaks, you find jays. They depend on each other. Jays gather acorns in the fall and cache them as winter food. They carry acorns up to 2 miles, as many as 5 acorns in their bills and throats, and bury them singly at the forest edge, the best place for acorns to germinate. One jay plants at least 4,000 acorns each year, recovering only 1 of every 4. Because jays live only a few years, they don't benefit from what they plant. Today's oaks were planted by jays long ago, so jays plant for a future they'll never see, trusting the Chinese proverb that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, the second best time is now. Oak is a keystone species. The disappearance of oaks would be a catastrophic loss to the forest community. The appearance of colorful foliage signals that autumn has begun. Birds and monarch butterflies are moving south for the winter. Big Year volunteers continue to use a variety of strategies to explore hard-to-reach places and microhabitats where new species may be found. Cooler temperatures and autumn rains produce a rich array of mushrooms. Analogous to apples on an apple tree, mushrooms are the fruit of the fungal network that lies hidden in the soil. Many soft, fleshy mushrooms and their lookalikes, the slime molds, disintegrate after only a few days. All the world's a stage, wrote Shakespeare, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. Some goldenrod species flower late into the fall, providing critical flight fuel for migrating monarch butterflies, and for pollinators that overwinter as adults, such as bumblebees. Because bumblebees don't store nectar, they must be well fed before they hibernate. Goldenrod is among the last plants to flower before a killing frost occurs. Without goldenrod's bounty, many bumblebees would not survive winter, and many flowers would remain unpollinated in the new year. Big Year teams have recorded a parade of dragonfly species in the warmer months. But as winter approaches, the last dragonflies aloft are autumn meadowhawks, an apt symbol for the Big Year's circle as it begins to close. With year's end approaching, it becomes harder for volunteers to find new species. But persistent observers always find something new. Even on wintry days, the sun continues moving energy up the food chain. Tiny cold-adapted flies, snow midges, can be seen flying over or even mating on the surface of new fallen snow. The water of a nearby stream or pond and the muck below thrives with life, patiently waiting for spring to return. This invisible world and its carnival of fascinating creatures can be revealed and recorded with the help of a microscope that has a cell phone attachment. The Big Year has been a remarkable experience for the volunteers, a chance to discover hidden worlds. a chance to share these worlds with family, friends, and the wider community, a chance to create a permanent database of the web of life in these special places, and perhaps most important, a chance to help preserve the places and creatures they've come to love and not simply to bear witness to their destruction. For as Henry David Thoreau learned from his years of exploring the area around Walden Pond, it's all happening in and around the places we call home. Rise free from care before the dawn and seek adventure, Thoreau wrote. Let the noon find you by other lakes, and the night overtake you everywhere at home. There are no larger fields than these, no worthier games that may be played. For as the poet T.S. Eliot observed, the end of all our travels and all our ceaseless explorations will be to come home at last and know ourselves for the first time.
And so this whole project kind of gave me like a chance to like really like just like dive deep into it. And it's really cool how like you could get lost in like a 20 by 20 section for like an hour, and like you're like, oh my god, like there's a lichen here, there's a fungi over here, there's like a bird up there, and you're just like in it the whole time.
I think everyone brings their own expertise. As I mentioned, I know garden plants and I know some spring wildflowers, but I never thought of coming here for those things.
We like finding things first. Somebody wrote up in the description of our project that this is a friendly competition, so we have taken it to heart. So it is fascinating to be the first one to come upon something new or something so unusual that even the experts have to be called in, or even of our friends. You know, witch's broom. Where did that come from? So it's been so much fun just trying to be out there. Being first. That's not really good, but.
There was a man who was fishing, so I asked him, he just pulled something up, and I said, wait, can I take a picture of that? So yeah, I like that I get to interact with some people and get people more involved with what's going on.
I know I wouldn't have done this project if my son Jeff hadn't been part of it, because he did an awful lot of the work, and I don't think I'm I think I'm at the age where I don't have that kind of energy anymore. but his enthusiasm carried me along, and my wife's enthusiasm carried me along, and I think that's kind of what happens in a family situation or with friends. You're going to keep each other moving along.
And I think that's been the biggest surprise for me so far is all these areas that I never looked into before, and how much life there is in those areas, in the mosses, in the lichens, in the on the bark of trees, in sandy open soil, just everywhere.
I'm basically a birder, and I've been stalking birds seriously for 12 years, and now it seems since January, 7.5 months, I've been stalking anything.
Yeah.
Plants, bugs, butterflies.
Yeah, what are you going to do with all this knowledge? I don't know. Teach somebody else. That's what I think.
And we found one new plant for New Jersey, one native plant, a native to North America plant that has hopped the border into New Jersey, and it's official. I just mentioned it. I didn't make any special mention of it.
Right.
But I turned it over to the guy who does the maps for the USA site.
Right.
He took a specimen, and it's going to go to Smithsonian or someplace like that.
Oh, well.
Some of the most fun times of my life. I've really gotten addicted to doing this. And it started in the middle of winter on January 1st. And we went out into a place that we thought was pretty barren and dead. What are you going to find in winter? And we found all sorts of things. I remember one time we went out and I was looking at a fungus. And then on the fungus we found these slugs. And then we looked a little bit deeper, and there were globulous springtails. Just wonderful things there that are thoroughly unexpected.